Ladies and gentlemen, it's the one, it's the only, it's True Grit, Alex Bryant, also known as the Impact Player, and some even call me the Natural Born Thriller. I'm your current Ring Wars Carolina World Heavyweight Champion, and you're tuning in to CCP Podcasting.
What is happening, friends of CCP Podcasting? Welcome to a special live taping of Beyond the Bell. I'm Chris Page. That is JB from No Game Unturned. Mr. JB, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. It's a Friday night. You know, you've gotten the week behind you. You're looking forward to the weekend. Maybe you want to be thinking about some wrestling, and that's what we're here for.
It's been every day this week. Just same every day. Actually, it's been every day since last Saturday. And it'll be every day until next... Ooh, good question. I had off next Friday, and I booked a show. So there's Lobo and Nelson are coming back next Friday night. So, but nonetheless, we are here. It is a very live, special edition of Beyond the Bell. We're going to dive in. This our guest today. No stranger to all of us here at CCP Podcasting. This gentleman, tag team partner of mine on several projects, from watching old school Memphis wrestling to, dabbling into the legends that of yesteryears, to some tag team spotlights. In his own right, he is a professional wrestler, and as a matter of fact, JB, just about a couple of weeks ago, picked up the NICW Heavyweight Champion. Our guest tonight, ladies and gentlemen, give it up. It has been a long time coming, and welcome back to CCP Podcasting, Eric the Lariat Steele. What is going on, my man?
Hey, one time for old time's sake.
Ooh. Oh, you got me again, some bitch. Every time you take my head off with that thing, I don't.
Heads are going to roll.
Everybody ever tell you to watch out? You're gonna put somebody's eye out with that thing.
Hey, put their eye out, kid.
Yeah, man. How you doing, buddy? It's been forever.
I'm doing good, man. Clearly, I'm the champ, right?
I see that shiny little well, not a little championship, but I see that championship resting on your shoulder there for a hot second. Congrats, champ.
Thanks, man. I've been doing great. Had a lot of life changes in the last year, but man, they've all been great. Been busy, but now getting some more free time when I come in here and talk to my old buddies.
Oh man, it's always a pleasure to have you back. Can't wait to get back on a full-time schedule with you, doing some content. But we'll get there at some point in time. JB, I know you've been waiting on this one, brother.
Oh yeah. Eric and I, we've talked for a long time in wrestling, so I'm still working on us getting our cruise schedules lined up so we can be on the same cruise at the same time. But we'll arrange that eventually.
Wait, is that the one that you would take with Doug, and then y'all tell me about it like 3 weeks before the launch date, so I can't do anything about it? Is that the same kind of thing we're talking about here?
You're the other one we're trying to work on. They still haven't announced anything. When they announce something, I'll let you know.
I need more than 3 weeks to make something happen.
Okay. Okay, we'll give you 4. We'll work it out.
This is gonna be great. It's gonna be fantastic. Again, I already know so much about you already, just from working together on and off on the channel itself. But we never have really gotten a chance to dive in and talk deeply about you and your career and how you got into things and what led you into professional wrestling. So I feel like that's the best place to start, is to find out where did you fall in love with the sport, and what made you decide to say, self, this is something I think I want to try and do.
So I've loved wrestling for as long as I can remember. I remember being a little kid and watching Hulk Hogan wrestle in Ultimate Warrior and thinking, that's what I want to do. I want to be Hulk Hogan when I grow up. Before I really knew it was, professional wrestling. Watched wrestling my whole life. I loved it. Um, and I was, an amateur wrestler. I was a pretty good amateur wrestler in high school. Of course, the time I was growing up, backyard wrestling was huge. So started backyard wrestling, just looking for every opportunity since I was like 15 years old to try to get into the business. I'd go set some rings up. The guys let us get in the ring and play around a little bit after you set the ring up. Then I was 16. I found a place that I could train. Started training with some local guys. I got to have my first match when I was 17 years old. Um, and for the longest time, until I started the career I'm in now, there's nothing else I wanted to do but be a professional wrestler. Um, so, like I said, I had my first match when I was 17. I had some veterans take me under their wing, and really, like the local guys, just show me how to take bumps, do some moves. Then some veterans take me under their wing, like Tracy Smothers and Gypsy Joe. I traveled in the car with them, man, for years. I had to live the dream of being a full-time professional wrestler. I never made it to the big contract, but I made a living off wrestling, working 6 days a week. Uh, so, man, kind of living the dream. Wanted to be a professional, didn't make it to the big time, but I had a lot of fun and paid the bills that I had for a while doing it. I'm in the twilight of my career now. It's about over, but we're having a good time while it's left.
That's all that matters, man. So you have a good time with what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm curious because getting into training is always different for everybody in whatever area that they're wrestling in. Like for me in Alabama, it was, you had to ask promoters or ask the guys at shows and hope that, they were honest about it, not lying to you. Like it took
Yeah.
me, I'd say, on a search at 16, 17 years old, it took like 8 months before someone finally connected me. But what did it look like in your area when you got into training at 16? Because that's a young age, man.
Yeah. So it's 2002. Wrestling was super hot in 2002, but Miss West, I'm in West Virginia, small state. It wasn't super populated as far as like number of promotions and companies. Dogs go crazy right now. So there's a company that ran like around the Charleston area. I found them. I don't even remember how I found them right off. And they said, "Hey, you guys can come do a tryout in our training room." We came and tried out, and they said, "Yeah, you can come start training here." We're going to do a tryout for an NWA promotion. It was about the same distance, just the other way. One of the guys that I was setting the ring up for, I talked to this guy. I actually met him on AOL back in the day, so it tells you it's kind of dating myself. And everybody that right there shows said, "Man, don't go to that NWA promotion. They're terrible. The promoter's a crook. He's just going to steal your money. Nobody's going to want to use you." So they steered me away from that NWA promotion. And then once I got in the business and met people that worked there, most of that was pretty true. And it just all worked out the way it was supposed to. We went to the place in Charleston. We did a little tryout. And they said, "Yeah, you guys can start training." So I trained there for about 6 months. At my first match, I turned 17 by the time I had my first match, training when I was 16. And then the guy that I used to go set the ring up for was like, "Hey, I'm starting to have matches now," and he started booking me. So even when I was 16, 17 years old, I was working 3, 4 days a week when I was 17. So
It's baptism by fire, man. That's what that is. I remember
yeah,
those days, dude. Uh, it was a different time. You
yeah,
came
the
in
world,
right when I was you said 2002. I ended in '05, late '05.
yeah,
Uh, so like you were bouncing in as I was on my way out. And you had the opportunity to work with for me, they're legends. Matter of fact, the shirt you're wearing on, saw it before we came on the air. So is that a Is
yeah,
that a Tracy shirt? Is that a Smothers shirt? And you were like,
that's my
yeah.
man.
I was
Yeah,
like, dude. And I know some Tracy Smothers stories based on just working with you. being able to chat with you on other programs that we've done on the channel over the course of the years. But for our audience that's here live and who may not know and are watching over on YouTube, why don't you tell them the importance that Tracy Smothers had with you?
So he was like, it's my wrestling dad, man. That's what I tell people. And he's that way for a lot of people. Like guys that are on TV now, like CM Punk, like Tracy Smothers was one of the guys that took him under his wing. He just gave back, man. He was the hardest working man in the business. He just gave back to the business so much. Uh, he would take a young guy that he saw potential in and liked. You drive the car, but he made sure you ate. He made sure you got paid. He made sure you had a place to stay. I mean, you just learned so much from him. You had such a great time. He'd take you under his wing and he'd teach you the business, man. Um, I can't say enough nice things about him, man. So many great times, great stories with him. Uh, we were working 6 days a week. There was a period I wasn't even home for 6 months straight riding with him. So just spent a lot of time in the Chevy Avea with him and Ruthie. It's always a great time.
JV, let me throw it over to you, my man.
I mean, it sounds like you had, a great role model in the business coming up, which can make all the difference from different stories I've heard in the past. And now you say you're in the twilight of your career, which I don't believe because you're the NICW champion. Come on now, you got 20 more years. I know it. We're gonna see this continue. But do you kind of see yourself sort of continuing what Tracy Smothers, what he put out there for you, and are you taking people under your wing? Are you seeing like newcomers come in and thinking, oh, I can help them. I can teach them a few lessons. I can make sure they eat.
So I try. I don't do it full time anymore. I'm a weekend warrior. And there's guys who try to give advice to. I don't know what the difference is now, like the cultural shift, but guys don't listen like they used to. Like there's some guys that do. I'm not trying to paint anybody a negative light or do broad strokes here. Some of the younger guys, you try to give them advice and they're just not going to listen to you. There's some that do. It's about 50-50. So I'm always willing to give people advice. They're not as receptive to unsolicited advice as I feel like my generation was, but some of more. So I always try to help people out. I'm also helping out veterans too, like people who are older than me, that have done it longer than me. They don't, like, I work with teenagers. They don't really know how to communicate with the younger generation. And so I tell them, like, guys, it's not like when I was coming up, when you were coming up. You can't yell at these people and think they're going to listen to you. Like, if you yell at these people, they're not going to listen to you. They're not going to work with you. You have to communicate with them differently. They communicate with us. So that's where I found my biggest, like, helping people is kind of connecting the older generation, my generation, people a little bit older than me that are still in it, and the younger generation, just like helping the older generation have a better understanding of the younger generation and communicate with them in a way that they understand, and then the younger generation seeing the value in the older generation. And if they're not just a grumpy old fart, that's just the way that they talk to people. That's the way that they were talked to, and that's the way that they think you're supposed to coach somebody. So that's where I see my biggest asset right now. Like, I can still have the best match on the card most of the nights, but that's not always my role.
What over the course of, I mean, again, I know, but other people do not. You had had an opportunity to sit under a lot of different learning trees along the way. Who were some of your favorite guys to sit down and either work with over the course of time, or in the same context, like who have you learned the most from? Because again, the beautiful thing about professional wrestling is like anything else. There's several different ways to get to a common denominator, but not one of them's right, not one of
Yeah.
them's wrong. It's all about what you learn along the way. So I know several people that you've been attached to, that you've had an opportunity to work with, but I'm real curious to see from your perspective, who taught you the most.
So besides Tracy Smothers, because he definitely taught me the most. But I was also fortunate to spend a lot of time with Ricky Morton and Bobby Eaton. I got to be around them a lot, learn a lot from them. There's some other guys like the Batten twins. They were in like a couple Crockett Cups, a lot of the territories back in the day. Actually from West Virginia. I worked for them when I was younger. I learned a lot from them. Guys like Bo James, I got to learn a lot from him. He's still real big in the Tennessee territory. Runs a promotion it's been going on for over like 30 years. Scotty McKeever, God rest his soul. Just a great veteran. He was a WCW job guy for a while. And Gypsy Joe, G Madrid. I got to spend a few years with him. Got to travel with him. Those were all big influences that taught me a lot when I was younger. And all had a big hand in shaping me.
When I hear Gypsy Joe's name, the first thing I think about is Gypsy Joe and New Jack.
That's all most people think about. So I met Joe after that, and I actually watched that video with him one time.
Oh, Jesus.
And Joe was, so I will say this, if that had happened, Joe was in his late 60s, early 70s when that happened. If Joe had been in his late 40s, early 50s when that happened, it would have been a much different situation. Or if it had been a 20, 30-year-old Gypsy Joe, he probably would have killed New Jack. He is the toughest human being I have ever met in my life. So I'll go to tell a funny Gypsy Joe story here real quick while we're on the story, just to tell you how tough this guy is. So we're at Scotty McKeever's house. Joe was staying with Scotty. It's the three of us there. Joe had his Willie Nelson gimmick. He's getting ready to do that, but before he does, he's, this was in my earlier days, so we hit one of those, and he took a pair of pliers and pulled his front tooth out with a pair of pliers. Took 2 aspirin. And after he did that, he's sitting there, and Scotty is inebriated. Scotty comes in and pulls his shirt off and says, "Joe, I want to find out how tough you are. Give me a chop." So Joe's like, this guy's crazy. He's drunk. So Joe stands up and takes his belt off and takes his shirt off. So he takes his belt and his shirt off. And Joe whips Scotty right across the chest with the belt. And Scott chopped Joe as hard as I've ever seen another man chop a human being. It was like a Gunther level chop. And Joe didn't even flinch, and he just smacked Scotty right across the chest with the belt again. And then Scotty chopped Joe, and Joe hit him with the belt, and Scotty chopped Joe. And then they just stood there and stared at each other, and Scotty goes, "Oh, I guess you're pretty tough after all." And just walked away.
I mean,
I'm like, what is happening right now?
it's too much. What's that? The early 2000s to mid 2000s. That's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
Go ahead, JV.
Oh, I mean, that's a crazy story for sure. Kind of brings me into the thoughts of you grew up watching these legends. You got to wrestle with and get trained by some of these legends. I know you're a huge Hulk Hogan fan. I've known that for years. And with that, I know you've worked a few moves in as tributes during your matches. I know the leg drop has come in there some. And do you ever did you ever borrow something from them and tell a legend, I'm using this and it's for you, or I'm just taking it, or one of those kind of things? Or
so I'd been working about 2.5 years when I met Tracy, and we're getting ready to work. Yeah, like I'd been watching him. I'd been a fan of him. Like I'd watched him in Smoky Mountain. I watched his indie stuff. And his indie stuff, man, he was cutting the funniest promos, like dance-off stuff, his ECW stuff. So I'm working with Tracy. Tracy's the babyface, and I'm the heel. And I met Tracy less than a year before One Night Stand. So he's working out real hard. He's in great shape. And so we're going to work, and he goes, you cut promos? I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm pretty good at promos. He goes, what do you say? I said, a bunch of stuff I stole from you. So that popped him. Then I cut his promo, and after the match, he's like, "You really did steal all my lines." So like I don't really like. There's not really anybody like I told Bobby one time I did the Alabama Jam. He said, "You're not doing it to me." Uh, that's really about it. Like I didn't really steal like a lot of their moves. Um, the first time I worked with Joe, uh, he was like, so this is like mid 2000s. And where the place we were at, they were working a lot of like Ring of Honor style matches at the time, like Japan Ring of Honor style matches. Me and a lot of guys around my age. So Joe comes up to me, like I've seen Joe. The first time I ever see Gypsy Joe in person, he's chopping a brick wall to warm up for his match. He's just chopping this brick wall, and it's like the scene from Kickboxer. Jean-Claude Van Damme walks in and sees the guy kicking the pillar, and Blaster just falling. Like he's chopping this wall, and pieces of the ceiling are just falling down. So that's the first time I've ever seen Joe. So I'm working with him, and Joe walks up to me, and he goes, "I see you go out here and kick the crap out of all these guys." And I'm like, no, Joe, it's just a work. I'm not really that stiff. He goes, "Oh crap. I see it. You're killing them. Do the same to me. I can take it." So it's like, okay. And Joe's like 70 at this time. So we get in the ring and we lock up. And Joe says, "Take me back to the corner and chop me hard as F." And it's like, okay. So I get him back in the corner and I just chopped him as hard as I could. And he said, "Do it again." I was like, okay. So I chopped him as hard as I could. He said, "I love it." And then he grabs me and spins me around in the corner. And all I'm thinking is, I've seen this dude almost kill Mr. Pogo before. He's about to kill me. And he gives me a chop, and it's the lightest chop I've ever taken in my life. It was super loud, but it was super light. Like he could hit you hard if he wanted to, but if he wanted to work with you, he could. He just didn't want people to try to sandbag with him or take it easy on him because he was older. So that was kind of a little rabbit trail there. But as far as I didn't really borrow a lot of moves from those guys that helped me out. They really taught me like psychology a lot, so I didn't really like borrow a lot of their moves because my build is so much different than all theirs. I had to borrow from guys that are built more like me.
The high flyers and the cruiserweights and those types.
Yeah. So I worked with Billy Gunn one time, and Billy Gunn goes, "What kind of stuff you do?" I looked at him. I said, "Well, believe it or not, I'm a heck of a luchador." And I just popped him real big, and he was cool after that. So yeah, guys I borrowed a lot from are like, Vader, Stan Hansen, like some Kawada, guys like that.
Well, I know that you and I have a fondness for Stan Hansen, and hence why you throw a pretty mean lariat. As a matter of fact, it's your moniker is the Lariat, and I happen to know that is as a shout out and a throwback to Stan Hansen. So chat me up a little bit about the importance of Hansen and resurrecting the Lariat for your finish.
So man, I love Stan Hansen. As far as like in-ring work, character-wise goes, he is on my Mount Rushmore. Just so good, man. Everybody talks of like 92, early 90s All Japan Wrestling is my absolute favorite wrestling. And everybody talks about the four pillars of All Japan. And I'm like, there's a fifth, and it is Stan Hansen. And he is right in the middle. Holding that sucker up. I just love Stan Hansen, man. His in-ring work, his promos, like he's just so believable. And I like the close, like it's hard to find a finisher. Like you want to finish, you can do to everybody. So for a long time I did a Death Valley Driver, but I can't give everybody a Death Valley Driver. So it's like, well, I need something I can do to everybody. And I always had a pretty good clothesline. And so I was actually working with Tracy, and Tracy had his beef with JBL at the time after One Night Stand. So we were going around. I would cut these promos. Like this was Tracy's idea. We'd cut these promos. And he would say that I'm here, that JBL sent me. That Tracy is afraid of JBL. And I'd get this like pro JBL promo that Tracy's not on JBL's level, and that's when I started doing the Lariat as my finish was JBL. You know, the clothesline from hell. That's kind of how I wound up getting the Lariat as my finish, was doing that little gimmick with Tracy, where I was there to represent JBL for him.
So in other words, you did the job. Got it.
Yeah.
I really enjoy, obviously, the old school stuff. As a matter of fact, it's one of our shows was Legends of Wrestling, where we would watch literally
Yeah.
different legends every week. It was different. It's fun stuff. As you're progressing throughout your career, and you're on the road, and this is all, you know, back in the day. We also we share a love of tag team wrestling as well. And this question right here is, like, it's very important to me because I look at tag team wrestling just in a different light, in a different way. So it's super important. Why is the Midnight Express the greatest tag team of all time? And why is the version of the Midnight Express beautiful Bobby Eaton and Dennis Condrey?
So the Midnight Express is so good. I mean, man, they were so over as heels in a time period when there weren't the big smart mark crowds. There weren't like the heel marks. It wasn't cool to be a heel, but they were so good that they became baby faces. And there wasn't a team that they couldn't have good matches with. As far as like the in-ring stuff, it was like doing cool moves. Bobby and Stan were probably better. But as far as drawing money and have big heat angles, Bobby and Dennis were, you know, the team. And anytime we have a debate about, you know, which version's better, Bobby and Dennis or Bobby and Stan, I always say Bobby's the one that was the same. So yeah, I think you could put anybody with Bobby and be good. I mean, not that Stan and Dennis weren't great. And they were so good. Like, they could have fantastic matches with anybody. I've never seen a bad Midnight Express match. And then Jim Cornette there as the mouthpiece, as the heater, like, so good.
Greatest of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well.
So
right there with some shit.
I was working with Bobby, and we were doing a television taping for like a local company, and it's just Bobby, like, you know, Bobby and Ricky. There's no Jim Cornette, no Stan, no Dennis. And so they're like, well, Bobby, we'll get you a manager for TV. He's like, oh, I'll cut my TV. I can cut my TV promo. So it's just like a 2-minute top promo, and he cut like I don't remember what he said, but I just remember it was like a fire promo. And when he was done, everybody's like, wow, Bobby, that was a great promo. He goes, yeah, Jim never let me talk. And it's like, just kept going, like, I guess, you know.
When you talk about Bobby Eaton, there's a story that I always remember, that because you've told me many times, but it never gets old. It's the gas station story about See It. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah.
So give that one to me real quick, and then we'll get back to you and your journey.
So there was like a 3-day loop of shows, and like these towns were probably 7,500 miles apart. And the main event on all 3 of the shows was Bobby Eaton and Ricky Morton in a cage match. And Bobby walks into a gas station, and they got the poster like hanging in the window for the show. And the clerk was like just a big wrestling fan. He's like, oh, Bobby Eaton, man, it's so awesome to see you. He's like, after all these years, you and Ricky Morton are still feuding. Like, I watched the Midnight and Rock and Roll, all these battles. You guys are still feuding. You're having a cage match tonight? Bobby looks at him, dead in the eye, as serious as can be, and went, yeah, slept with my wife. And then just walked out. It's like, walked out
you talk about selling a story, brother. Like, that is fantastic. It just doesn't get old. JV, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, that's a hard one to follow, but okay. So let's talk more about as you were coming up. You've been wrestling for a little while at this point, and how much traveling around have you done in the U.S.? Because I know you kind of had your base up in East Coast, competing there. Has that been mainly your main territory, so to speak?
Yeah, so when I was working full time, I had a pretty regular loop. So Tuesday nights was normally Nashville. That was where normally I was. Tuesday nights were in Nashville. Uh, Wednesday nights, or was Wednesday night? Wednesday night was Evansville, Indiana. Thursday nights was either Alcoa, Tennessee, or Tryon, Georgia, and then Fridays and Saturdays were always spot towns. So you never knew where you're gonna be on Friday or Saturday. So that was our normal loop. Sometimes you pick up something on a Sunday. Mondays were always the off day. Uh, Tracy always kept Monday as the off day. That was always the off day. So I've been as far north as Massachusetts to wrestle. As far west is I'm trying to think what the farthest, like Arkansas, I think, is the farthest west I went. South Georgia is probably as far south as I went. Never wrestled in Florida. Had a couple opportunities, but it's never made it to Florida. So that's probably about as far west as I've been, and then all up and down the East Coast, and a lot of West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, that area.
So he's just
North
everywhere,
Carolina, a good bit, yeah.
all over the South. Well, the east side of the country, essentially, and into the
Yeah.
South.
Southeast. Yeah.
Southeast. I'm directionally challenged. I can't go anywhere without a GPS. So for me to even try and call that's a whole nother story.
So GPS. All right, one more Gypsy Joe story talking about GPS. He would not allow me to use a GPS or MapQuest when we were traveling together. He would say, "I don't trust that," and you had to have a Rand McNally if you were traveling with Joe. So like, I used my GPS one time, like the first time we were traveling together, I had my GPS, and this is like they weren't as great. Like you could just pull it up on your phone, you either download everything from MapQuest and print it off, or you had like a Garmin or a TomTom that you plugged into your cigarette lighter. I think I had a Garmin, and the Garmin got me lost probably 25% of the time. It didn't do right, and we were going somewhere and we got lost with the Garmin. And so we're lost. We're trying to like, oh man, we don't know where we're at. We're Mr. Turn, and Joe's like, pull over at this truck stop. Went to the truck stop, and he went inside and bought a Rand McNally, and came back and gave it to me and said, "Don't ever use that thing again." So like, I just used the Rand McNally while I was with him. So he also taught me how to use an atlas really well. So there's that.
Go to the old school. We're breaking out the road maps,
Yeah.
baby. We're breaking out the road maps.
Yeah.
When you're you're touring, you're doing all this different stuff. At some point in time, the switch goes off and everything clicks. At some point in time or another in your career or in anyone's career. When does that happen for you? When are you out there and you're like, all right, okay, I got this now. I'm good. When's that moment for you?
So I mean, most people are going to think you're going to do that. It takes a good 5 years of solid work and to really know what you're doing. I would say my peak performance of like in ring and everything all together was probably like 2009. That's probably when I was at my absolute best. Like, I've had better matches since then, but consistently really good matches. Like 2009 was probably my peak of being really good. Uh, like like I said, I've had better matches since 2009, but 2009 I was having fantastic matches 5 nights a week. So that was probably my peak of being good. I've been able to do everything, but really, man, it's hard. It's kind of different for everybody. Like it depends on what you mean by getting it. Like understand the psychology and the storytelling aspect of it.
Yeah.
I
When is it?
would say that probably it's like 2006, 2007 probably is when it really clicked. When you're doing it 4 days a week at least, and I've done it. I was doing it 3 to 4 days a week for 4, 5 years before it really, really clicks. I mean, it takes a long time. It takes a lot of reps.
Well, outside of working with Ricky Morton and Bobby Eaton, Gypsy Joe, Tracy Smothers, what are some highlights for you thus far up until, and then we'll shift the gears a little bit and start getting the stuff a little bit more modern, like that new championship that you're rocking.
Uh, So I always joke and tell like this is just a funny story. This isn't really like a highlight. I always tell people I'm like the highlight of my wrestling career is I told Jerry Lynn how to do a spot, uh, which is just kind of funny. Like so, I would see him pretty regularly for about 2 or 3 months. I'd see him every Thursday in the Knoxville area, and him and Tracy are buddies, so like he's cool. Um, and he was working with the guys, and I'm not even like I'm just putting my boots on, and he's talking. He's like right behind me. And he goes, "Let's do that. Let's have some fun tonight. Let's do that. What's it called? The Texas two-step, Tennessee tiptoe, something like that." And I was like, I'm not even like looking up. I'm not even paying attention to what it is. I'm like, it's the Tennessee two-step. And Jerry Lynn, it was Jerry Lynn. He's like, yeah. How do you do that? So I explained to Jerry Lynn how to do the Tennessee two-step. So I was joking to her, like, man, that's the highlight of my wrestling career. I told Jerry Lynn how to do a spot. like, uh, but man, I like working with Jake the Snake was it's like it was cool, but it was like, hey, I'm wrestling with my childhood heroes, but also like it was not the resurrected Jake the Snake,
Yeah.
Working with Rhino was really cool. And just really like probably like one of the biggest compliments I ever got in my life was Ricky Morton said, brother, it don't matter if you make it or not. I'm telling you right now, you can work. You know how to work. And you're a good worker. So like when a Hall of Famer tells you that, like it's pretty validating, right?
Yeah. It's only the greatest seller
Yeah.
of all time. And
Yeah.
one of the greatest,
Yeah.
one of the greatest tag team wrestlers of all time. Yeah, tells you something
Yeah.
that's probably true. Um, we talked about it. Introduced you as it earlier. You say you're in the twilight of your career, but you just picked up a new shiny toy not too long ago. When I saw the post on Instagram, I was like, "Oh, congratulations! Now come talk to me about it."
Yeah. I was like, yeah, let's do it.
So
Yeah.
let's chat about it. I got to I think I'm not gonna say I saw the actual clip of you winning the belt, but I believe I saw a clip, and it could have been the decision. Um, but you just picked up the NICW Heavyweight Championship. So tell us a little bit about what the NICW is. I'm sorry, I don't get it right. And what
So
it
it's
represents, because as talking to you today, like there's more to it than just like one location. It's kind of like a traveling situation to a degree, or there's kind of places kind of spread out that recognize this championship as the heavyweight championship as well.
Yeah, so it stands for, I might be saying it wrong here, National Independent Championship Wrestling. It's sort of like a small territory system. There's companies based in West Virginia, Virginia, Tennessee, I think North or South Carolina that all recognize it. So, a couple little states, a few different promotions in all those states that recognize it. Um, so there was a guy that was a champion. He got hurt. So the belt was vacated. They had a big tournament, and I wound up been the guy that got the green light. But I've already set a hard date, wrapping up in November, man. So I told him like, look, just so you guys know, I'm done in November. So uh, I've set a hard date for that. But we'll do what we do until then.
Okay, so with you setting this hard date, like what's leading you to hanging up the boots?
So I turned 40 this year. Um, it's just not the same. Like I don't like to travel. Like I don't. This like one of my friends, he wants to book me, but I'm like, your shows are 5 hours away, man. I'm not coming. Uh, I don't like to travel. I don't like to be away from my family. Like I got to leave my wife and kids when I go. Um, and it's fun. Like it's a lot of fun to be in the ring, but the other parts of it just not so much. So I'm gonna be 40. I'm busy. Like I'm in a phase of my life where there's others like wrestling is far down the list of priorities and loves for me now. So, there's younger people who are hungrier and want to do this more than I do. They can have that spot. So I said November. The guy that I really cut my teeth for gave me my break. That worked for a lot. That's what their anniversary show, and I told him, that's going to be my last one. So
Well, JB, what do you think about that?
Oh, I hate to hear that for the Lariat. I also hate to hear that because I left 40 behind a while ago. So I still think I'm young, so I don't know about that.
yeah,
But you put your family first. I respect that. I know. I want to send congratulations. I believe earlier this week you had an anniversary, so
yeah.
you've
Thank you.
you've had you've had a
Yeah,
lady who's been sticking by you for many years now, and she's
Mrs.
had to
Lariat.
go through the business with you. Yeah,
yeah. So
Mrs. Lariat.
one of the promoters was like, "Well, why don't you just bring your wife and kids with you?" And I said, "The kids don't like wrestling, and my wife is over it. She's made more towns than half this locker room." So
Oh,
Took her on the road. That's what happened there.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I am
So
So
pleased to see that you are getting, at least one last run as a heavyweight champion, a recognized heavyweight champion. You've been doing this for over 20 years, on and off, and I think more on than off, if I'm not mistaken. You've had the opportunity to work alongside some of the greatest to ever lace a pair of boots, and learn from them as well, which is something that, you know, as they used to say, and maybe they still do, but you just can't teach that.
yeah, there are some aspects you just can't teach. Like you can't teach somebody to be charismatic. You can tell them stuff to say in a promo, but you can't teach somebody to cut a good promo. You just can't. You can't. I don't know. Maybe if you go to acting school, but then if you go to acting school, like I see people who go to acting school and don't look genuine. So acting is a little bit different than a professional wrestling promo. There's just certain parts of it you can't teach, right?
hmm Something else that's a pretty big thing uh, for you, and and I really I draw a comparison to like Matt Sigmund, guys like that is the faith is your faith. It's very strong. Uh, I know that like you had actually hooked us up with Sigmund when we first started doing Beyond the Bells. I think he was doing one of his training seminars or was holding a seminar. I'd like
Yeah.
to like talk a little bit about that because that's kind of a piece of to me it's a piece of professional wrestling that maybe it's not discussed as much as it should be a little bit, right? Like because it's for everybody. Um, Talk to me a little bit about your you're not talking about your faith, but the faith that comes with professional wrestling because there are companies out there that are Christian based wrestling. There's stuff that's out there that maybe people don't know about. What can you tell us about any of that?
So I mean, wrestling's a story of good versus evil, right?
hmm
Uh, and good doesn't always triumph in a professional wrestling, but I mean, it's already declared that Jesus won and is going to continue to win. Uh, and really, man, like life on the road is hard. Like it's not just professional wrestling. It's any sport where you're going a lot. You're on the road a lot. Like you just find something to fill the void that's inside of you. I thought that's what wrestling was what was filling what was missing inside of me. And then there are other things that you would fill that with, like where it's drinking, drugs, anything that you're going to try to fill that with. But really, man, like the only thing that can fill that is Jesus. And when I found that that's what it was, and he filled that void in my life, man, there's nothing else better. Like top of the list. And that's what my life is dedicated to now. Um, you get a chance and you'll meet other people who believe the same way in wrestling. Then you also get the opportunity to share that with people who are having a tough time and going through the same things that you went through when you were their age.
it's something that I mean I have my views, opinions. Everyone has their own views and opinions, and I'm a firm believer that um, there's always positive in everything. If you find it, you've got to look for it.
Yeah.
It's not always going to be there. It's not always going to be right in front of your face. Sometimes you got to dig through it to get there and to make yourself. Wait a minute. What is this? Oh, sorry. Looking in chat. Apparently, Cholo said something about you coming to VA to the VA after you retire, and apparently Toddy said that he'll go up there, but Cholo's got to take him to the prom. I don't know. That took me.
So we'll let Doug know. I am wrestling in Virginia in July, but it's really far from him. So it's in Southern Virginia, so he's gonna have to come down here. In Virginia, you have to have a license, right? This entire time, I've never had a Virginia license. I've actually never wrestled in Virginia. It's kind of weird. It's this one of the states like right beside me. I've never wrestled in Virginia. So I bought my Virginia license this year. The first show I was supposed to do got canceled. The second show that I was supposed to do there, something else came up that was more important to do, so I had to cancel the show. So we'll eventually be in Virginia.
Well, that
just
just means...
You see how far Bland is from you, Doug. That's all you got to do. Just see how far Bland is.
That just means that Doug's got to take it on the road, baby. Take it on the road, baby. That's the way you want it, baby. JB, go ahead, bud.
I have to say this whenever I hear someone from the East Coast say, "Oh, it's in the southern part, so it's going to take a while to get there." We're here in Texas, so I mean, it's like, you don't know how far you have to drive in Texas to and still be in Texas to get there. So that made me laugh a little bit. Doug can he can make that drive, but
my grandmother used to live in Galveston. So
there you go.
I remember going to Texas. When we got in Texarkana, we're like, "Hey, we're in Texas now." It's like, "Oh, so we should be there soon then." And they're like, "No, we're staying the night here," and then the next day is a full day of driving to Galveston.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I think Doug should be able to make that journey. But we've talked about your faith. I wanted to at least get in a little bit of one of your other jobs outside of wrestling, maybe one that you consider, higher up there than your youth ministry. I know you've done a lot up there in Mapleview, I believe it is, and I wanted to ask you about that, and if you've been able to sort of use some of the knowledge you've gotten from wrestling to deliver that to the youth and maybe help them out, not necessarily wrestling, but in life, stuff that you've learned from it.
Yeah, so when they get out of line, I just give them a lariat.
Yes, I do. Yes, sir. I'm for it. Let's go.
So no, I'm a full-time youth minister now. I love it, man. It's the greatest job on planet Earth. Where else do you get to play dodgeball with the people you're watching over, right? I just love it. It's awesome. But sometimes I do like the main services. I'll preach the main services a couple times a year. I actually did one last Sunday, and it's kind of funny. If you knew this guy, it's even funnier because this guy's he's an older guy. He's in his 70s. He's a very straight-laced, successful businessman, the head of the elders of the church. He came up to me and said, you do a really good job, speaking in front of these people. There's 200 some people there on a Sunday morning. 230-ish is our average. And he said, you do a really good job talking in front of people. It's, it doesn't seem like you've not preached for a long time. And I told him, I said, look, when you're on a microphone insulting 400 people while you're wearing spandex, it's not that hard to talk in front of people. So, talking in front of crowds and wrestling has been a huge help. And just dealing with people, navigating different personality types and things like that. That's helpful as well because you all the different, the volunteers different, staff's different. So just navigating personality types, just dealing with drama, things like that from wrestling. Teenagers will have their problems, other people have their, just navigating that. It's all it's all kind of worked together. And then, just Lariat and somebody when they get out of hand. So
Again, I'm here for it. Can we do that?
yeah, yeah,
Like, can you and I get together and just go on a Lariat spree? Like, you grab one, I grab. Let's just Lariats for everybody. You get a Lariat. You get a
yeah,
Lariat. Everybody gets a Lariat.
yeah.
Listen, this is what I call my $1,000,000 questions. And for you, they're not so much $1,000,000 questions because you're on the downward side. Like you know when your end date is, and you know what you're trying to do on your way out. This is more so like just to pick your brain. Um, I always ask people when they come on the show and they sit down and talk to us, who should we be watching? And what I mean by that is like your local area or on the independent scene from your eyes, who, if you had to tell us, doesn't matter how many people. It could be one, it could be three, it could
Yeah.
be fucking 12. I don't care. Oh my God, I made it the whole show without an F-bomb until right now. That is, I made it 51 minutes into this episode and did not
That's
drop
probably a
the
record
F-bomb.
for you, right?
It is, and it's not. I'm not celebrating it. I'm just pointing out that usually by now I've dropped several, but I've held it that long. See, you're such a good influence on me, Eric. That's
Yeah.
you helped. You've already helped with the potty mouth.
Yeah.
Although it ruined my question, so I'll start over. Who should we be watching? Really, from your perspective, guys on the scene.
So guys like I don't know if this guy would qualify since he's kind of blown up a lot here lately with NWA and OVW and stuff, but Dalton McKenzie.
Qualifies.
I got to work with him in probably one of his first 10 matches. Dude, like soaked everything up like a sponge. When I was booking, I got to book him a couple times to come in. Really cool guy. Soaks up information like a sponge and just he's big. Like he's big. He's got a good look. He's charismatic. Like I would not be surprised if that guy makes it on TV someday. There's a dude here. He works as Jeff Paul. Kind of looks like one of the Paul brothers. He's got a unique look. I mean, he's tall. He's 6'4". So he definitely stands out in the crowd. Like just the way he looks. Very solid worker. Real athletic. He's got a good personality for television. So he's somebody I can see. People looking for. He puts in a lot of time. He makes a lot of towns. There's a couple other guys. There's this tag team that I put together, Chase Bennett, Corey Sparks. They're young, they're smaller guys, but they're really starting to mesh well as a tag team. They're really good, hard workers. They're coming along with their psychology and their promos, but their in-ring work is really good and really crisp. So that's 4 people I would put out there for sure.
Okay. Well, the reason why we ask. Yeah, it's been a minute since you've been on the channel. We've pivoted to literally indie wrestling, all indie wrestling. So we again have internal spreadsheets, and names that you've given us are names that make that list. It's names that will come down at some point in time and do a show on because this is what our platform is. It's independent wrestling.
Yeah.
There's hidden gems everywhere. We don't know where they're all at because we see it all over the world, and there's plenty that we miss, and we would not miss them, or we'd catch more of them when guys like you come on the show. Guys like you tell us, hey, these are some guys you should probably be looking at, and we do. And not only does it give us the guys, it gives us other feds too, because they're attached to different companies, and it opens the door and keeps that revolving door of professional wrestling for us. It keeps us growing. It keeps us finding new people and new things. And the second piece of this question, and I don't even know, you may not even have an answer for this, and if that's fine. But with November vastly approaching, if you could get in the ring with anybody, who would that be for you? If you had bucket list matches at this point, who would it be?
Super easy question answer. Kerry Morton.
Kerry Morton.
Yeah, that's
Go.
that's the one and only. So, all right, we'll tell a Kerry Morton, Ricky Morton story here real quick, and why this is the match that I want to have. So the first time I ever wrestled Ricky Morton, well, the second time. So I wrestled him in a 6-man tag. So the second time I ever wrestled, I'm probably 18, 19 years old. I've seen Ricky like every week for a good year, at least once a week for a good year. So I've got him in the ring. I've got him down. I'm putting the heat on him. I'm putting it on him. And next thing I know, I just feel these little fists like hit me in the back. And I look over my shoulder, and it's Kerry Morton. He's still in diapers. This is how little he is. Hitting me. He said, "Get off my daddy! Get off my dad!" And Ricky said, "Moto, get the heck out of here! I whoop your butt." So I got to get revenge on Kerry Morton for running in on me.
Well, I think we got
But man, I remember like he is.
I think we got to put Ricky in his corner.
Yeah,
I think you gotta
we can do that.
come full circle with it, baby. Full circle. Go ahead.
Yeah. And then just seeing him like growing up, man. I'd see him in the ring working out, and I remember I pitched he was probably 12, 13 years old. I was working with Ricky, and I pitched this idea to Ricky. I was like, "Look," I was like, "We'll do this." I was like, "Then let's let Kerry roll in and super kick me." And he thought about it for like a good hour. Like he was like, like he's thinking about it, and because like we'd work out with him before the show sometimes, and Ricky said, "I really like that you'll do that with my kid, but I just can't do that to the business." So, but yeah, like so that's the one bucket list dream match. I've tried a couple different times. Like somebody book me with Kerry. So
Well, let me tell you what we're gonna do. We're gonna manifest this, and we're gonna put this out there into the universe because that's what we do here on this channel, and we try and make things happen. Kerry Morton, if you're out there, Eric the Lariat still ain't forgotten that you ran in on him while you were still in diapers. He's looking for revenge. He's looking for that match. I think we need to see it. Let's make that happen. Go ahead, JB.
Right.
I mean, that's gotta be the dream right there. But yeah, it's been great sitting here talking with you. One thing I always try to do is kind of do a deep dive on the social media and kind of make sure I know everything that's been going on lately. And I did want to ask you a little bit about this garage gym that you were working on a few months ago that was named after Sisyphus, I believe, eternally pushing the boulder up a hill. That sounds like a great idea for a gym as long as you're not stuck there all the time. But I thought I'd go ahead and throw that out there just to find out more about it. Because I saw it was founded in 2020 and all this.
So it's Sisyphus. So you're pretty close.
Sisyphus.
I have a sweatshirt that's got like the logo on it, and I can't tell you how many times people that will look at me and go, "I say syphilis." I'm like, no, it's not. It's not syphilis fitness.
No.
That would be a weird name.
Too weird.
So, man, it is. So I was doing competitive powerlifting when COVID happened. Shut down all the gyms, and I'd been wanting to build a garage home gym for a long time. So I was like, well, now's the time. So I built the garage gym. I love it. But then we had to have some work done on our house. So and all the work to get to our crawl space, you had to go through my garage. So to take that all down because they're working in it. And then since we moved, I just have not got it set back up yet. I went and got it like cleaned up and prepped, but I gotta do a couple more things before I can set it up. But that's definitely something I want to get done is get it set back up here. Because there's just something about your garage gym compared to a commercial gym.
I just want to point out for the record that JB could have asked any question he wanted to, but he wanted to ask about your home gym. It's any question.
Yeah.
It's hey, that's a snazzy T-shirt you got on over there, JB. I just now noticed.
Yeah.
It is. Yes. He's rocking it.
Where can I get something like that?
There's a few places you can get it. I'll just throw Redbubble out there and you can go look for it there, but I won't advertise too much on CCPT.
Fuck it, man. Throw it out there. Where can they get your shirt? Throw it out there.
Just go out to Redbubble and you can look for them under the No Game Unturned shop out there.
There you go. Redbubble, No Game Unturned. Buy a T-shirt, support JB. It's not hard.
Yeah.
People helping people's a beautiful thing. What do you have coming up, Eric? We're as of this show, it's the Friday the 13th. Imagine that. We made it an hour into this episode, and not one of us brought up the fact that it's the night that Jason Voorhees is on television. What's some stuff that you got coming up? It could be over the next couple of weeks. It could be in the next month or so. Keep in mind that any kind of plug that you do that's for future stuff, I can trim and drop at any point for you. So it doesn't have to be like right this second. It could be in general. What's your schedule looking like here?
So tomorrow, the 14th, we'll be defending the NICW title for Premier Wrestling at Premier Wrestling League. They got a big show. They actually are running a big show at the mall that is right beside the church that I work at. They got Moose and Enzo on the show. I'm not really sure who I'm working with. I know it's not Moose or Enzo. The week after that, I'm wrestling at a big minor league baseball stadium for a company called Real Shoot Wrestling. If I'm still champion, I'll be defending the NICW Championship. I got some American Pro Wrestling television tapings coming up. I'm gonna be off a few weeks for different church camp activities. I got a couple weeks at camp. Then for American Pro Wrestling, we're gonna be in Bland, Virginia. So we'll be in Virginia, Doug. Google Bland, see how far that is from me. Come on down. Then we'll be doing a show, like unique places, a mall, a baseball field, and a brewery, all within the next month. So I'll be at a brewery in Fayetteville, West Virginia, in July as well.
I have fantastic. First of all, you got a lot of things happening, a lot of moving parts, and I don't know why we've made it again over an hour into the show, and didn't even really get to the subject, but we'll get to it real quick. Again, with your longevity and the people that you've been able to work with and learn from over the course of the last 20 years, another thing that you and I share in common. It's 4.5 hours away from Doug, by the way. So that's worth making the trip.
That's not pop-up. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, I just lost it. Ribs. That's where I was going. Ribs is something else that we share in common is we both enjoy, at least I did in my day, when I was in my heyday of my career. I really enjoyed good ribs. I enjoyed playing practical jokes. I enjoyed making people laugh. I was never one of those guys that did the outrageous, over-the-top stuff. I was a tassel guy. I'd just tear a tassel off your gear while we were in the ring, and that'd be that. What kind of ribs for you guys? For you, is that something that you didn't participate in, or did you see some good ones? I mean, you were traveling with a lot of old school people.
Man,
I've seen some good ones.
There's been so many good ones. There's like a classic agility test rib. I don't know if that's just a West Virginia thing or if it's or like a Southern thing. I can't really talk about that one on air. Just like prank phone calls, just general like little ribs. The one thing I've noticed, like I was going for a couple years with an injury and I came back and it was just so different. Like the whole sport business was different. Like people don't rib anymore. Like nobody ribs anybody. It's so weird. And if you make like a little joke, people don't know how to take it. Like these guys like the Corey Sparks and Chase Bennett, they had a match a couple weeks ago. It was a good match. It was at a TV taping, but they were the dark match. So the dark match main event. And like I'm ready to go home, but you gotta wait till everybody's done so I can get paid and leave. And they came back and I said, Chase, Corey, and I'm telling Joe to put that match on TV next time. And they're like, oh yeah. I was like, yeah, so that way you guys can't go so long. I'm trying to get out of here. But like they just don't know how to take like they're like I'm just joking, guys. Like it was a good match, but it was really long. I'm trying to go home. But they just don't really rip each other anymore, man. I don't know why, but it's just not a thing anymore. But back in the day, like you had cell phones, but not everybody. You didn't have smartphones. You didn't have TVs or anything in the locker room, like you have to kill the time somehow. Like people just don't really, it's not really a thing anymore for some reason. I don't know why.
People just don't want to have fun. That's all it is. People just don't want to have fun anymore. Man, it's been great to sit down and just chat with you about wrestling in general. The last
Yeah.
question that I have for you, and this one's really putting you on the spot. When the hell are you coming back to fucking co-host with me on CCP podcasting show?
We got to figure it out. Make some time, man.
I'm telling you, we'll make it work. I'll make it work. You tell me when you're ready. I'll make it work. It won't be anything that we'll put on YouTube because I do want to get back to doing some legend stuff. But it would be fun to do live and getting it on Twitch and getting back into the swing of stuff and getting you back on the channel. I miss you. It's been too long since I've been able to sit down and just really chat with you. 'Cause I get it. You've been busy. I moved too. I moved to Gainesville.
You know it is.
I do, man. I've been here 5 months, and it feels like I've been here 6 years. It's like time's going by so fucking fast. Excuse me, so fast that it's
Oh yeah,
it's crazy. But it's such a wild road to be on, and it's been great to sit down with you and have you here at least tonight, so you can show off that shiny new toy of yours.
that's right,
Mr. Champion. What JB? What do you want to? You got anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to say? Chat. If you guys have any questions, like I said, you got about a minute or two. I'd drop them now and I'll get them asked.
I've about covered mine. I brought up the gym. That was my outside the box question that I was hanging on to. So I too want to second that. We want to get the Lariat back on CCP.
Well, here's what I want to do
more often.
I'll pitch the show right now, and nobody is under any deal whatsoever. Like we just throwing it out there into the universe, manifesting, if you will. I'm okay with doing a Friday night show because I'm contemplating pushing back the Saturday morning start time from 7:30 to about 10. If we could swing that, I would love to do the Legends show, but here's the caveat. We got to bring JB in, and JB's got to be able to come in and do it with us because he's equally into the Legends of yesteryear as we are, and I think that would be a really, really fun show.
We'll have to check that out and see what we can do. We can make that work.
Whatever works.
That would be awesome.
I could do a later night Saturday show as well. I would just have to schedule around, beyond the belts and stuff like that. But
yeah,
I'm putting it out there. I put it in your hands, in JB's hands. Oh, Paul, we just covered that. What's the funniest rib you've ever seen or had done to you?
So that's really hard to think of. Like, I can probably tell you what I think is the funniest story from wrestling, but that I've got. But I don't know about the funniest rib. What's the one move that I could never master that I wish I could have? Doug asked. The answer is a moonsault. So I would try to do like a standing moonsault. It actually was more like a running shooting star press. I mean, it was crooked, but it was more like that than a running moonsault. I could kind of do one, but it was always crooked, so I could never really like master it.
Got it.
But so as far as like the funniest story, so when I met Tracy, I met him at this lady's house in Kentucky, like when I was going on the road with him. She was one of his baby mamas. And so when we left, like it was kind of far out in Kentucky. He said, "Hey, we'll leave. Eric, you just drive me. We'll leave your car here, right?" So we're on the road a month probably, and like every other day she calls Tracy and they get an argument. She's like, "I'm gonna roll this guy's car over the hill. I'm gonna have it towed, like just out." And he's like, "Don't you do that? That kid ain't got nothing to do with this." And then we were just talking with it, and I was like, yeah, I got the West Virginia. I had like a belt for a company at the time. I was like, I got the West Virginia title. He's like, you got the West Virginia title? We haven't been using it. I'm like, well, it's in my car. He goes, you're telling me the West Virginia title's in your car? We got to get the West Virginia title. So he called her for like a week, and he's just like schmoozing her over, like baby facing it up, like, yeah, oh, well, I'm coming back this date. I'm going to be here this date. And then so like the day of, he calls her, and that was me and Eric Darkstorm were with him. And he calls her and he says, hey, the Erics, they're just real upset. They don't want to come in. Eric's just upset that you've been threatening to have his car towed, roll his car over the hill, set on fire, all this different stuff. He's like, so I'm coming in, just leave his keys in the floorboard, just leave the car unlocked, leave his keys in his seat. So you got off the exit and you had to go down like a road, like a main highway, and then down a road, and then down another road. So at the road that went down to her house, like the last one, he stopped and he let me out. And he turns off the headlights on his car and he rolls down, and like I walk down, and it's nighttime. So I walk down there and I jump he's like, jump in the car, start and just take off. So I jumped in my car, started up, and we just took off like to the gas station, and he calls me. He's like, "You stupid!" He's like, "Why would you do that?" He's like, "I'm not coming to see you. We got the car, and more importantly, we got the West Virginia title." So I took my car to another place, and we'd be driving, and he would just be like, "Everything's all right in the world as long as I got this West Virginia title." And he would just put it in the middle console, just pat it, like, "We got the West Virginia title. Everything's good, boys." I'm like, I stole my own car back from somebody.
I remember hearing that on the Tracy Smothers show that we did, and it was. I love it. I love the stories, man. I love reminiscing. I love chatting about what you got going on. I'm sad that you're winding things down, but I understand why. And I get it, 100%. But you're on your last run. The last ride of the Lariat is
Yep,
underway.
one last Lariat.
That's going to be the name of the tour. That's what you should be calling it. The One
Yeah.
Last Lariat Tour. This
Like
has been
what's Last Stampede Tour? It's the last Lariat Tour.
facts. Well, do you got anything else you want to talk about, Eric? Is there anything on your mind? You want to throw out there? And JB, you're good?
Man, I just want to thank you guys for coming on and talking to me. I just let you guys know that, man, like there's somebody out there that loves you, man. His name is Jesus. If you ever feel like somebody doesn't love you, you're missing something. Just know that you are more loved than you could ever imagine.
It's facts. JB, you got anything you want to say to the people before we close out?
Yeah, if you've liked what you've seen, if you've enjoyed this Beyond the Bell, there's going to be plenty more to come. So make sure you don't miss them. Make sure you like, you follow, you subscribe, you do whatever you have to do to keep up with CCP podcasting. You can find them on Twitch, on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram. Just, they're all over the place. You need to follow them everywhere you can to keep up with everything that's going on, because Chris over there is not exaggerating when he's talking about when he's going to have his next day off. So you want to be here. You don't want to miss anything that's going to be coming.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, guys. Again, for those out there, we'll go ahead and put it out there for you. July the 19th. It's a Saturday, 11 a.m. Mark your calendars now. The air is going to be rare right here on CCP Podcasting with Richard Holiday. Lots of things happening. It's funny, tonight we're talking to a man about faith, and tomorrow night I've got the Devil's Double from Australia. Jesse Daniels coming on about 7 p.m., 6 p.m. tomorrow night. Sunday night, 6 p.m., Blade Brown will be on the show. Monday night, we're here for Inside the Indies. Tuesday, we've got the Jackpot Ricky Argula, I believe is his last name. Probably misspelled that or mispronounced it. And then Wednesday is with Lamar Diggs. So we have a lot of things coming, guys. Do not go anywhere. The easiest way you can support independent wrestling is by liking, sharing, and subscribing. For Eric, it's right there on the screen. It has been the entire show. Fat 2 Freak Beast over on Instagram. Go over there and smash that fucking follow. Check out what he has going on. Like I said, his His career in the ring might be on this downward trajectory or on its downward hoof, but his life and the faith and the work that he brings with him is not. So follow. If you can, it's free. Doesn't cost you anything. For JB and Eric the Lariat Steel. I am Chris Page. We will see you next time.